Well, we're in the garage, but we're wearing snow gear, which can only mean one thing. We're working outside a little bit. Dan here, DD Speed Shop. So, the rear end is all done. Now, today's plan will be pull this one out, which I think is just sitting there. So we gotta drop leaves, drop her out. Ugh. Listen to this noise. That's so you know it's cold. Now, we gotta move this junker first, but in the back of this fine Ford is this 10 bolt. Now, everything ended up being more of a pain than ever, but all rebuild, 373s, had to put new axles in it because the axles were junk where the bearings rode. I have brand new brakes ordered from Rock Auto inside. Hopefully everything I need is there. I'll probably have to reuse some of the e-brake stuff, but all new springs, wheel cylinders. This thing will be brand new, axle to axle, inside and out. The only thing that's original is the freaking case and the yoke. Yikes. So that's a fun way to spend $1,000. Anyways, we're gonna get the rear end in. I think what we're gonna do, this Nomad has to go in that garage because that fine 56 we're out of parts. It is now Christmas holidays for everybody. I do have to order a drive shaft. Oh, what the? Frozen. Oh, okay. Let's see if we can start this, make it a little easier to back that rear end in. This thing may be a little on the chilly side. Oh, not even that bad. A little cold. Let's do the shuffle, get that rear end out. Look at that. In there, Jack's just kind of holding it up, but she's pretty much ready to go. Spoiler alert, this is going in the Nomad. Maybe in the next video, we'll see how it goes. We're gonna let it warm up in here. Let the rear end warm up. I gotta go through, it's just icy. And I gotta go through my box. I ordered a complete brake rebuild kit, and I don't know what all it came with. I assume it's probably just springs, wheel cylinders, you know, drums and shoes. But the little star wheel and stuff like that's a little on the crunchy side, but we'll get her mostly together. I mean, this thing, again, the real issue we're running into right now, the drive shaft, I assume is not going to be accurate. I have a couple I can try, but actually I'm filming this on Christmas Eve, which is a weekend, and a lot of businesses are closed into next week, at least Monday, Tuesday. So where I'm at right now, we get this thing roller. 4 days I can't do anything with the drive shaft. I could put the wipers in, but you know what? I think I'd rather just push it outside and we'll work on that Nomad for a couple days over Christmas, because that sounds like a fun time. And I mean, hardly anybody has been asking about the Nomad, so that's coming up. And then we gotta put coolant in this thing. Don't let me forget. But I'll see you maybe in a half hour once it warms up in here a little bit. Everything thaws out. Okay, well, it's warm in here now. Who would have thought? So that's the brake rebuild, 2 drums, a set of shoes, some wheel cylinders, and a rebuild kit or with spring kit. So that's most of the need. I went and had some U-bolts made up, two sets, obviously. We got two rear ends to put in. We could reuse these, but I thought, let's not do that. The issue we're going to run into, which I dummied it, is going to be the star wheel. It's going to be completely junk. I should have ordered one. I went around, nowhere in town has anything. So that's a bummer. I think they're probably, I mean, not unique to this car, but unique to this rear end. That's the only rear end I have like that. I did take in, like, I had a spare backing plate for a Tri-5, but it's going to be different, I believe. I don't know if we can use it. We'll take a look, but because it's going to be an auto adjuster on this style, and Tri-5s did not have auto adjusting brakes. So, worst case, we'll take it all apart, put the new stuff in, have it all sandblasted, cleaned up, ready to go, and then I'll order those adjusters, which I should order them anyways, just off Rock Auto. But they won't be here for a few days or a week or whatever it's going to be. But we'll toss them in the car, and it's simple. Drums off, you know, 2 pins back in and done. But we'll carry on. I guess let's get this thing taken apart. Well, I wouldn't say things are going great. So we took the brakes all off. I thought, okay, well, we'll just kind of make it work. So I took it apart. Now, I knew these things were crunchy, but I thought, it's probably not that bad. And so this is our spreader bar. It's fine, a little rusty. You need to fix that up. That'll be good. And then our e-brake, that was okay. I mean, you know, you can clean that up, no big deal. So then I got to the star wheel. I'm like, well, you know, maybe I'll just be able to heat it up and fix it. Well, there ain't much star left in that wheel, and then it's completely rotted through. So yeah, and then I take this as the back shoe, and this is what the adjuster is. This is what the star wheel rides on. That's actually not too bad, but on the other side, I was looking, this little piece here has rotted out, and it's kind of a fine edge, so it'll need to be like welded and fixed and screwed around or whatever I gotta do. So that's not great. Now, I did look online, Rock Auto. Man, nowhere local has like 67 Camaro 10-bolt repair stuff. Who'd have thought? Rock Auto has this exact piece actually with a new spring and all that, and a new star wheel, and they're like $9 a side. So it's not worth my time. Unfortunately, I don't live at Rock Auto. So Dan blunders us again. The poor planning and preparation causes whatever that saying is. I did it backwards. But the rear end can stay in, which is nice. So we're going to clamp this thing down, double U-bolt it each side, put the shocks back on. I mean, that's all that stuff. All can go on. The shackles are all good. It has new bushings in it. Should have to come out again. We can then measure for a proper drive shaft. I can then order e-brake stuff, brake stuff, whatever I have to do. We'll put oil in this thing. Obviously won't have any brakes, but it can roll. And then we'll go struggle to get the Nomad in here. That seems like a fun time. I thought it'd be kind of a little bit, maybe more in the next video, but now it'll be half four-door wagon and half sweet, badass Nomad that's been, whatever the title says, abandoned in the snow, or who knows what it'll be. But yeah, so let's fast motion this, because this is boring junk. But, man, this is where we were like 3 weeks ago, except now it's slightly less crappy. I gotta say, it's a really pretty car. I know it looks like garbage, but it's pretty. So, I we took all the brakes off, we put the wheels on, and now we're actually sitting on the axle. Now the reason I did that was I want to measure for a drive shaft and kind of see what everything's going to line up like. Once we get under there, I didn't weld the diff to the perches 100%. There's tack welded on. I want to see how it was all going to line up first. I put the U-bolts in, I just kind of snugged them, nothing's too tight. When you really crank those U-bolts, they kind of bend out a little and they're a pain to get in and out again. And the U-bolts are going to have to come out one of the times I re-weld the rear end in properly, which honestly I could do right now, but we have a lot of screwing around to do this thing anyways in a short bit. Now, I also had to put a couple of spacers because the Nova rear end is slightly narrower. So I put a 1/4 inch spacer in there, which gave us about a 1/4 inch of gap. So we could figure that out. I did not hook the shocks up because, again, that bottom plate's got to come off. Rear brake line just hanging. Now, what I've done, I put a drive shaft in here, just sitting there. There's no U-bolts or nothing on it. But as you can see, this is the issue we have. A whole pile of yoke is sticking out, which you want kind of 3/4 or so of an inch. So all I'm going to do is measure from the tail, shaft, or the tail housing where it comes out, to about 3/4 of an inch, which in this case is like 1/3 of an inch or so. That's how much longer the drive shaft needs to be. This one I had originally made up when I think this thing was a big block or something. I forget. Anyways, I think it's junk to me. This one here on the ground was in the car when it was a small block turbo 350 stock rear end car. So that's a good one to have because that's a factory Tri-5.1. This is a custom made one, which was a waste of money as it turns out. But hey, I'm good at wasting time and money. So we'll get that lengthened up, put it in the tube stretcher. We should be fine. But that's enough now. I'm going to take this out. I'm not going to leave it in there. When we roll it around, we gotta hold up the transmission lines real quick, and otherwise drop it down the ground and put some coolant in it. I got some straight coolant. I put 50-50 in. I filled the rad up most of the way, and I'm gonna put some straight, like concentrate in, let it run for a little bit in case there's just some pure water in the block. We're dealing with like 30 below Celsius, which I think right around is like 30 below Fahrenheit in that area. I don't want this thing to freeze. We got a bunch of time and money into it. We'll do that. That's a matter of dragging it around, and the Nomad undoubtedly is going to be frozen to the ground, so that should be entertaining for you and terrible for me. So I'll drop this thing down, we'll fire it up. It's always, having a car run's always a good time. I love steel wheels, by the way, just love them. I will say, I mean, I might be a little biased, but this is a very pretty car. I've got the hood on. Danny was going to come out, then somehow had a slip and fall. So I nursed her back to health by doing next to nothing. Oh, that hood might be a little adjustment. Just going to hold itself up. Nope. So I drained the water out of the block on this thing, and I put in some premix. My only concern, well, I drained the radiator is what I meant to say. I drained the radiator out. My concern is there's still some water left in the block itself. So we got some concentrate, which is said good for all coolants and all cars. So I'm going to top it up with that. We're going to run it, get the temperature. Hopefully it'll cycle a little bit, and then it'll be ready to be dragged outside. It would be nice to have a car that ran and drove, but I guess I'll have to settle with running. Now, will it run? Will it run? Sitting for 3 days. Will it run? Man, that door opens nice. Oh. A little quick when their fuel pump goes, cranks. Here we go. All right, we'll let it idle. I just want to be able to see the water going through the little veins of the radiator. Once it cycles a little bit, we'll call her a day. Wow. Then we get to suffer outside in the cold. Yay! Okay, so been running for a while. As you can see, the radiator and all that's kind of steaming, which is good. It went up to 210 degrees and now it went down. I jumpered the fan and it's been sitting like 173, 174. And the battery is at 10 volts, so that's probably not great, but not charging will do that. So I'm pretty confident we got coolant the whole way through. I can see it kind of flow as we rev it. Radiator's hot, that means it's spinning. So, we get the truck switched around and drag this girl out. So here is our plan. I'm not saying it's a good plan, but it's a plan. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hook this thing up to the bumper so it's got a little bit of load on it. And then this thing actually still has front brakes, so Danny's gonna hop in it and hopefully just ride the brake a little bit. I'm gonna pull around the Nomad and hopefully just pull her in over there. Then we can re-rig this thing and uncover the Nomad and yank it out of its snowy resting place. The damn microphone froze, but we got the car kind of over there. We'll see, maybe I'll re-rig it, pull it around. But for now, let's see if I can get this thing out. It's a little bit something, so I want to take the cover off, but it's frozen to it. I don't really want to rip it all. It's a El Cheapo Amazon cover. So let's see if I can spin the front end over, and then maybe we can hook it up to the winch. Pull on. Together myself. Okay, a little slip and fall later. I got frustrated, so we hooked up to the garage winch. It's going to be a tight pull, but I'm confident. A little that goes a long way. Let's crank the heat, melt this thing off. So, I have a Nomad, back by popular demand. We got a lot of the snow off and whatnot, but fortunately, car covers kind of froze a little. So this Nomad, I've had for, I forget when I happened. I must have been 2 years now. I got it. Maybe this, or maybe it's only been a year. I forget. I worked on it last winter. I got up until, obviously it's all kind of somewhat together. It's in primer. This thing was a basket case of a car, which was maybe not my smartest financial decision, but it was a Nomad, and I think it was $3,000. It was rough. So if you happen to be new here, I'll just do a quick once over. Maybe we'll fire it up. That might be tomorrow or later tonight after it melts off a little bit. It does run. It does quote unquote drive. You know what? I just started working this last year. It's all coming back to me, like literally this time last year. So when I got it, it was bad. Missing one door. Quarters were completely rotted. I actually keep part of the quarter panel on my wall as motivation. We'll just take one quick diversion here. This was the quarter panel. Look at that. Look how thick that is. I wrote on there, do better. Hopefully I can do better. Now that being said, it was a basket case, but you know what? It was still a car. It didn't get crushed, it didn't get parted out. It had a good roof, and somebody over the years saw that it was worth keeping. Must have been a race car, something that had some sort of a 12-bolt with a spool in it. But anyways, I put a new front clip on it. I think I built this door of a sedan door. The other door I think came with it, I forget. Full quarters, full floors, and I'm talking toe board to, tail pan. Chassis swap, because it had been chopped and there was been front clipped with like a Camaro or something like that. No glass. I did buy a glass kit from Auto City Classics, I believe, and I have some of it, but not all. It's in the car. Some stuff was on back order. It's got a fairly healthy aluminum headed small block Chevy with a brand new rebuilt Turbo 350 with, I think I put a high stall in it and a shift kit. Ooh, it's still a little froze. All new front end, all new brakes. There hasn't been much that wasn't touched on this thing. And ultimately I got it to high build primer and kind of lost interest. So that happened, I think, in June. And then what the real problem was, we were going on power tour and I wanted to take spare axles, a spare rear end, center section. So I robbed this car out of it. And then it turned out it was unique somehow, some way. The rear end that was in this 56 Chevy that I ended up swapping the rear end with had goofy bearings. I couldn't find replacements. And then they were junk when I took them all apart. And I put another rear end in it just to make it a roller again. And then just life happened and the car sat. And I'm conflicted. I don't enjoy body work. There's no bones about it. And this car, unfortunately, probably deserves better than the primer the primer job I would leave it in. So what I'm trying to do is I got a buddy who's a body man by trade. I'm going to try and convince him to come over, take a look at it, maybe shuffle off at his place, because ultimately it's probably an 80 grit. It's roughly straight. It's not perfect, and I'm not going to make it perfect. I want to make it, decent. Wow, the dash is rusty. But we're just going for a driver. A nice. When was the last time you've seen a Nomad driver? Never. Anyways, back to, so all those things happened. I got a little frustrated, and tracking down parts is unbelievably frustrating because not only is everything expensive, nothing is local, nothing's available easy, everything's a pain in the ass. All the little bits of trim and stuff like that. on a 55 Nomad, it'll have headlight rings, fender spear into a door spear, and they're like $3,500 US. So that's like $5,000 Canadian for a set. Like, who would pay that? So I've put myself into that situation, but I have saved this car. It is absolutely not crusher bait. And what we're gonna do in the next video is put the rear end in it, go through it, make it so it does run and drive. So if it does go to the body shop or my buddy's place, who Nick said, body man, it can move and run and drive, have brakes, do all those things, and go from there. We're just taking a break from that 56 simply because we're out of parts again. Always out of parts. So let's finish this thing getting stripped off. We'll let it melt, and then I'll be back tonight or tomorrow, but I'd like to go through it, see what I have and don't have for it. Yeah, it's a cool car. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I'm gonna keep it, but we're gonna finish it. Well, it's a few hours later. We put a battery in this thing, so we're going to roll it over, make sure you have a little bit of oil pressure. I checked, I had coolant in it, so that's always nice. Didn't crack the block or anything. Now, the whole reason we're dragging this thing in here, I mean, partly is I got to actually finish it. But man, Danny made a comment in the video, on the Christmas video, about how I sold the Nomad. The amount of emails I got over being mad about selling this thing was crazy. But nobody offered any money. People just want to give me attitude, which is always fun. So we'll crank this thing over so we get a little oil pressure. Perfecto. Now, when I stored this thing, there was no filler neck in it, and when I looked at it, I just jammed a glove in the inlet of the tank. So, we'll see if we can, Uncle Tony, man, I guess the old Uncle Tony spritzer. Oh, wait, maybe there's actually fuel in the bowl still. This thing ran, well, before snow, but like October, something like that. I'll make sure we got a decent little start here. So this motor I bought from a guy. It was in a Camaro, and then unfortunately he passed, and his old lady wanted to drive the Camaro, but it was a bit too rowdy, and it was built by a local engine builder here. It came with all the bills and down sheet and everything. So it's you know, high-ish compression, small block, you know, big Holly intake, it'll brought the aluminum heads, the whole deal. No windshield, Tri-5, super handy to start. See what happens. Oh yeah, she'll go. Man, this thing sounds good. It's got fender wells and 3-inch headers, or 3-inch pipe with wore out glass packs off a stock car. Maybe she's a little more gasoline. Well, it's got some on the accelerator pump. Sound noise. Oh, starter. Weird. This thing has a mini starter on it, which is actually brand new. Maybe it's not shim right. That's not like me. Come on, girl. You know you want to go. Press the people. She's a little chilly. You know what fixes that? More fuel in a closed area. Dang. What's going on here? I paid big money for this car. She's not happy. Gotta bottle feed it maybe. Now she runs, oh yeah, 60 pounds oil pressure. Let's let her warm up a little, eh? Ooh. I don't think she's hitting on all 8 just yet, but you get to sit in the back of the bus. Alright. no fuel. That's the problem. She runs out. Well, that's unfortunate. Honestly, the best part of this car is just the lopey idle, but obviously the tank's right out of gas. And I'm not screwing with that. So we can fill the bowls. It's got enough heat in it, just idle and lope away, eh? One more time. Oh, come on, come on. Man, somebody should fix this thing. All right, well, there we go. So we still have snow on the ground. In the garage, it's icy and shit everywhere, so I'm gonna crank the heat. We're gonna let it warm up for well, overnight. I'll deal with this tomorrow, but we're swapping rear ends. All new brakes, all new everything. I don't know if I have the e-brake cable or what I did there. We'll have to figure that out. Anyways, make it a roller. Right now the rear end's just sitting in there. I'd like to drive this thing around a little bit. So that's what we'll do in the next video. Put the rear end in, and who else has got a garage burnout? Maybe we'll do that. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe below. Leave a comment. It really doesn't cost anything other than maybe a little bit of my pride. See you later.